Once upon a time, there was a new crossover that refused to play by the rules. It flipped the script and made all the others look like fools. Featuring styling that's sexier by far and handles like a rock star. Introducing the first ever Toyota CHR.
Enjoy agile handling in the body of a seductive crossover that comes with standard 18-inch alloy wheels. The first ever Toyota CHR. The perfect ride to spin your own tail. Toyota. Let's go places.
Blog Talk Radio.
TV party tonight! TV party tonight! TV party tonight! TV party tonight! We're gonna have a TV party tonight! Alright! We're gonna have a TV party, alright! Tonight! We got nothing better to do than watch TV and have a couple of brews. Everybody's gonna hang out here tonight. All right. We'll pass out on the couch. All right. Tonight. We got nothing better to do than watch TV and have a couple of brews. Don't talk about anything else. We don't wanna know. We're dedicated to our favorite shows.
Tonight's favorite show is The Flash, Season 3, Flashpoint. Ladies and gentlemen, no matter what happens in your life, the show must go on. Always remember that. When you fall down flat on your face, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, try not to strangle the person to your immediate right, and trudge forward. Right, Jesse?
That's right, buddy. Trudge forward.
Trudge. All right. Ronnie, how close are you to getting home?
I'll be there in a minute. I'll call back in.
Thank you. So as one of the rogues from the Flashpoint, Weather Wizard over here with his fucking wind tunnel. There we go.
we should have just told him. We should have told him to roll up his window. Maybe that would have solved the problem. You shouldn't do a podcast rolling down the window with and going down the road at 60 miles an hour.
Listen, I demand perfection on the Rad Religion Broadcasting Network.
That's right, damn it.
Audio perfection. And we've only had it this year, but that's probably the issue. All right. All right.
Better late than never.
Tonight. Yeah. This is TV Party Tonight. I am your host, the man beta reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified, Mr. Mark Radledge. And we are, in fact, discussing The Flash, Season 3, also called Flashpoint. We talked about the Flashpoint comic on source material last night, and tonight, in conjunction with that, we're going to look at the most recent season of The Flash, which in its own inimitable fashion dealt with Flashpoint. I am, of course, joined by a man who I've left at the altar of metal. Sorry, Jesse.
Damn it.
I led you down a gilded path and then left you stranded there. I apologize. I suck. But Jesse's here. That's right.
Buddy, forging forward, that is, I think, your middle name. And I don't, I certainly do not, I do not harbor any ill will with the fact that you are going to leave me at the altar of metal. If there's any altar I would rather be left at, it would be a clutch show. I will not have any complaints there.
I was going to say, I suppose of all the things, sorry, I just got a message from work. Anyway.
Time to go in. They're calling you in.
Yeah, they're calling me in. There's nuts about. You need to go put them in turtle suits. You know what a turtle suit is?
Turtle suit?
Turtle suit. It's a colloquialism for a safety gown when we put people on suicide watch in jail. And this is not just where I work. This is any correctional institution. If you put people on some sort of psychiatric observation or suicide watch, as it's also called, you give them a safety gown and you take away their underwear so they can't hang themselves with it. And the safety gown makes it incredibly difficult to shred and fashion into some sort of a noose. Basically it's a thick blanket with the arms cut out. Think of it as a snuggie. Remember
Okay.
the snuggie? Remember the blanket
we got
with
one.
sleeves?
We got one or two.
So think of it as a snuggie. Now cut the sleeves off. Cut it so that it only goes up to about your ankles. Put Velcro on it so that you can keep it around yourself, and make it about as thick and uncomfortable as burlap.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and it's green. I don't know why it has to be green, but it's green, so it's called the turtle suit. That's what.
There you go. I was asking why. I was sitting there going to ask why it was a turtle suit, because I wondered if there was like some kind of weird backpack on it or something. But okay.
It comes with katana blades and nunchucks.
It just looks cool. The prisoners can't use them, but they look damn cool.
Anyway, I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. I got momentarily distracted by a work text, but that's fine. We're going to put that to the side and get back to the Flash. Now, you've watched the entirety of Season 3, is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Although it was quite slow for me, I'm saying. I went at a slow pace getting through these episodes, but I finished it up. I was able to catch up. I was able to catch up right before they ended the season. So at a leisurely pace, I made my way through, but I was able to be on top of it so I wouldn't miss out on any of that fun conversation on Facebook, because I knew I wanted to be part of that.
Yes. You are my time travel expert. So we will have to have a conversation about that, because I still don't understand what happened, but we'll get to it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I have to ask, as I stall for time here to let Ronnie Adams park his car and get in the house where he's, listenable.
If he calls back and he says he's in the house and there's like a fucking tornado going on, we're going to have problems.
Yeah, there's a fucking elephant in his living room. Sorry, guys. Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Is this the only show in the Arrowverse that you watch? Or do you watch the other Arrowverse shows?
I watch every Arrowverse show except for Arrow. How's that?
Wow.
Yeah.
You don't watch Batman with a bow?
No, afraid not. And my aversion to that show, I think a lot of it is because I came into this watching The Flash, and I didn't want to have to go back and catch up on the previous seasons of Arrow. So it's one of those things where I'm probably going to do that at some point when I have the time and I'm just like looking for a show to watch. But here's the thing, we'll talk a little bit about it in this season, but the crossovers kill me.
If I can recommend getting yourself hospitalized into a hospital that has Wi-Fi, that's the best way to catch up on one of these shows. Let me tell you. I mean, this year, both times I was in the ER, I caught up on Arrow. It's been great.
Yeah.
I highly recommend it.
I'll go ahead and watch it from my own couch. I hope you understand. Not that comfortable hospital bed that I hear so much about, that everybody raves about. Unfortunately,
it's great. You get no sleep. The nurses come in on you every 15 minutes, and they bring you food. It's fantastic. Let me quick pause here and bring on Captain Underpants, the Lorax. He speaks for the trees. He's connected to the green. Ronnie Adams, how do you do, sir?
How'd I go from Captain Underpants to Swamp Thing?
I'm glad he got that reference. Hell, I had to look that stuff up last night.
What's up, Ronnie?
What's going on, gentlemen? Sorry about the call in on my vehicle earlier, but you do what you do.
Hey, you called in at least, man. That's the big thing.
You called back. That's the important thing. You didn't be like, what, fuck that bitch. I call into a show.
He tells me I'm not good enough if I'm in my car. My car's good enough, daggone it.
Because I'm good enough and I'm smart enough, and goddamn it, people like me. I speak for the trees.
I speak for the freaking tree.
Connected to the green. Are you? We were just talking about as we slowly get into this. We were talking about familiarity with the other Arrowverse shows. Is Flash the only one you watch, or do you watch the other ones as well?
Oh, I watch Arrow. I watch Flash. I started Legends of Tomorrow, but I have not caught up with it yet. Supergirl, I've watched all of season 1, and that's it. That's the only ones, right?
Okay. Yeah. I'll tell you how much like how Jesse was, and I know we kind of cut you off there, Jesse. I'll let you finish up in just a second, but you started kind of the way that I did. I had heard Arrow was good. Larry Zonka from 401mania.com talked about, Arrow's actually a pretty good show in its early goings before even The Flash came out. And I was like, well, good for you, Larry. I'm glad you enjoy it, but I can't bring myself. I care as little about Green Arrow as I do about Hawkeye. In fact, I slightly less, because at least Hawkeye once led the West Coast Avengers, and that's a comic I read. So I was not. I was a huge fan of the West Coast Avengers. Okay. I had no interest in Green Arrow. Just a guy running around with a bow and arrow did nothing for me. Little did I know that it was apparently Batman with a bow. But I had heard nothing but good things about The Flash. And I watched all of season 1 on Netflix. I binge watched it on Netflix before season 2 had even come out. And I really did fall in love with the show. Binge watched season 2, and then I watched season 3 live. Supergirl, I watched the first season live when it was on CBS, and then I've watched it live on CW. I adore Supergirl. I think it's one of my favorite shows on TV right now. I think the writing, especially this second season, when they moved it to the CW, I thought it was phenomenal. Absolutely, I'm a huge fan. Legends of Tomorrow, I was initially resistant to. I was like, who the fuck are these people? I had no idea who half the characters were. But I was bored one day, and instead of doing important, dad or husband stuff, I was like, I'm just going to watch a new television show. So I watched Legends of Tomorrow on Netflix, and I didn't realize what a great television sci-fi series it was. So fell in love with that show, and then I watched the second season live. Arrow, I came to late, and as I joked with Jesse, it was the only show I hadn't watched, and I figured, well, I've heard it's pretty good. I've watched all the other shows. I'm in a hospital bed, gasping for air. What else have I got to do? So I watched Arrow season 1, and I got hooked on that pretty much. So I have to say, of all 4, and I want to ask if you guys agree with this, of all 4 shows, is Arrow not the weakest? I think Flash is the strongest, Arrow is the weakest, and then depending on your point of view, there's Legends and Supergirl right there in the middle. But I would personally rank them Flash, Supergirl, Legends, Arrow. But Jesse, what do you think?
Well, I can't really speak too much on Arrow. I have heard a lot of people and their discussions about it. It seems like I hear more complaints about Arrow than I do praise. So if I was just to base it upon that, I would say for sure Arrow has to be the weakest. Flash, I think, to me, out of all the shows, is the top. For some reason, this one feels like it's the series where I can identify and love the characters the most. I don't have a whole lot to gripe about. I found a couple as I was preparing for this show, but I can't find a whole lot of problems with the storytelling and the way that I enjoy the characters in The Flash. Supergirl, again, in the middle. Legends is probably second from the top because you guys know I love my time travel. And now I'm stuck at a point where I'm stuck at a point where, we got 2 shows that are in this Arrowverse that deal with time travel a lot. But I would probably say that I have less to gripe about Flash than I would with Legends. And that's it for the Arrowverse, right? Is there any others? There's just those 4 shows.
Just those 4.
Just 4 shows.
Okay, and I think I think it's kind of, Black Lightning's coming, right?
No.
Yeah, Black Lightning, straight from your Blaxploitation 70s VCR tapes. It's Black Lightning, everybody, coming to the CW. I swear to God that's true.
Out of all... Okay, never mind.
Get ready, Ronnie Adams. It's on its way. But yeah, with Supergirl, I almost say that it's kind of a stretch to say she's part of it, but I guess now she is, considering they've clearly crossed over.
She is a part of the Arrowverse as much as any character in the Flash that's on a separate Earth.
Okay.
I mean that's
all right.
That's been their explanation of it. She is a part of the Arrowverse. For God's sakes, they had an episode where they've had at least 2 episodes where she's been on the Flash. For Pete's sake.
Technically,
so,
yeah, you're right.
Fix your glasses, nerd.
There's my ranking, Ronnie Adams.
My ranking would have to go Flash, Supergirl, Arrow, then Legends.
Oh, you like Legends least?
Yeah, it's just me. It's just personal.
I take it personal.
Then we can rumble, sir.
Easy. My contention was that, and then we'll shift into actually talking about the Flash. But my contention was that Arrow is the worst and or the weakest. It's not a bad show. I don't want people to think I think it's a bad show. I just don't think it's the strongest of the 4. I think it's the weakest. But you would relegate it to just above Legends. So in 50 words or less, why exactly?
Okay, if you're going for actual good show, then definitely Legends above Flash. But if you're going for Ronnie Adams, what I'd rather watch, Arrow, because it's just kind of a nostalgic thing with me. I'm actually into the Speedy, Arrow, the whole the whole thing, But there's a formula to Flash or a formula to Arrow. There's a much in a lot of seasons and a lot of the shows, I fast forward through his flashbacks because I don't really care. I just want to know what's going on now, because it's almost a direct parallel to what's going on now. Or I don't really need to know how. He was on the island, he got off the island, but now he's been on and off the island more than the characters have lost. So I don't care anymore. Just show me what he's going through now. So you just show me what he's going through now, and that's where So I get it, totally. As far as ranking the shows as a good shows, definitely Legends above Flash. But what I would rather watch, just because I've been into, Legends above Arrow. Flash is number 1. But
okay,
Legends
so
above Arrow.
hold on a second. Just make sure. Legends is not
Flash, Supergirl. Flash. Oh my God.
Go.
You would make this tough. You would make this tough. What I would rather watch, this is Ronnie's watchability list, is Flash, Supergirl, Arrow, then Legends.
Okay,
now,
so
like you said, if you're asking, Legends is last.
Okay.
If you're asking me, about writing and a good show and everything, all of them are good shows. All of them have pretty good writing. It would go Flash, Supergirl, Legends, then Arrow. Because I'll admit it's a better show than Arrow. I've just been with Arrow longer.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we're going to transition into actually talking about season 3 now. But before I do, in case people are wondering why are we only discussing Flash season 3, why isn't there also a TV party for Supergirl season 2, Arrow season 5, and Legends season 2? 1, because I haven't watched Arrow season 5 yet. 2, because I wasn't going to do any of these. There are just certain shows I watch and I don't feel the need to talk about. Gotham. So I just, I watch them live as they come out. I don't binge watch them, and I don't feel the need to talk about them. I wanted to talk about this because, and here's our transition point. Ready, everyone? Googly? Here we go.
Here we go.
The impetus of season 3 was the Flashpoint paradox. And the Flashpoint paradox is simply Barry Allen runs back and stops his mother from being killed. There's the comic version of this, which we talked about on source material. There's the Flashpoint paradox DC animated movie, which we discussed in addition to the comic book, but didn't get its own podcast. And now we have Flashpoint as handled in the melodrama The Flash on the CW. So here's how they handle it. Now, they obviously don't have the greater DC universe to work with. There's no Aquaman. There's no Atlantis. There's no Wonder Woman. There's no Themyscira. There may have been an allusion to a Gotham and a Batman in this universe, but none that has been presented on The Flash. We've been introduced to at least one Earth's version of Superman and Supergirl, and they are a part of the Arrowverse, but they don't exist on the same planet, on the same Earth, as this iteration of Flash. So for the purposes of Flashpoint, they don't really count. In other words, they can't do the Flashpoint paradox as it was done in the comic or the movie. They handled it in the melodrama world of the Arrowverse with the characters they had, which is essentially, here's what happened. And we're not going to necessarily break down every single episode like this, but I felt it was important to actually discuss the first episode, which is directly the Flashpoint episode in large part, and then move into the rest of the things that happened throughout the season. Season 2 ends with Zoom killing Barry's father. They defeat Zoom eventually and free the real Jay Garrick from his imprisonment. But at this point, Barry has lost his mother. He's lost his father. He's at the worst possible place emotionally he's ever been in his life. And he, just as he does in the comic and the TV movie, he decides he's going to run back in time and stop the murder of his mother from happening because he's lost too much. The weight of the loss is so heavy that he can't live with it. So he changes history by stopping Eobard Thawne or Ichabod Crane, whatever you like, from killing Nora Jones. Okay, so drink every time I get a name wrong, folks.
Anyway. Nora Jones.
I'm glad this isn't the Wonder Woman podcast all over again, where I could mispronounce Themyscira, whatever.
Themyscira.
Okay. So we arrive at season 3. Barry's been living in this new timeline for a few months. He's got Eobard Thawne trapped in a cage of sorts where he can't use his powers, and he's sort of feeding him like a pet. And Barry is working up the courage to ask out Iris. What he finds out through the course of the episode is there's another Flash in town, so he doesn't have to be running around saving people. And that Flash is Wally West, otherwise known as Kid Flash in this timeline. Iris and Joe have had a falling out where they don't talk, and they don't talk because in this iteration of the timeline, Iris doesn't forgive Joe for not telling her about Wally, if I remember correctly. If I get something wrong, just jump in and say, hey, it's different. But I believe that was the issue there. In this timeline, Ramon Cisco is a tech mogul and has no interest in stopping metas and has no interest in helping the Flash. And there is no Team Flash. As a matter of fact, what's her face, who becomes Killer Frost? Oh, God, what's her name? Her actual name? Caitlin. Yeah. Caitlin Snow is an ophthalmologist. None of these people are involved with Star Labs the way they are in the original timeline. There's another speedster running around called the Rival, and the Rival is giving Kid Flash the business. Barry eventually gets to trying to help Kid Flash take down the Rival. This ends badly for Kid Flash as he takes a pole to the chest. They do take down the Rival, but again, not without this large cost. So, you've got the Irish Joe issue, you've got the no Team Flash, you've got the fact that Kid Flash just took a pole to the chest. Things are worse off for everybody but Barry. And Barry says, well, this isn't going to work. And so he makes the sacrifice to run back to the past to make a change and set the timeline right. And I believe that's where the episode more or less ends. It isn't. It's the next episode where I think he tries to run back a second time, and Jay Garrick slaps the shit out of him and says, "No, you idiot! It doesn't work that way." Am I right about that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't. Man, if we're talking back in October, I could barely remember last month. So sure.
I believe I got it. Yeah, it's the second episode.
I'm pretty
where
sure that you did.
Yeah, it's the second episode where. Oh, you know what? I did screw something up. In the Flashpoint paradox, Joe has a poor relationship with Iris and Wally, and he's a shitty detective and kind of a drunk. It's when he goes back and tries to fix things, that they have the issue where they haven't talked. My apologies to everyone. All right.
That's right.
Now that I've gone and mucked that up, we'll go Jesse and then Ronnie. How do you think, by comparison with the tools and the issues that they have at their disposal, how do you think the showrunners for The Flash handled Flashpoint? What is your opinion?
I think they did fine. Just like you had mentioned earlier, we don't have a whole DC universe that we've got to try and include all the big names to figure out where everybody's at. What we've got to do is we've got to show the effects that this has had on the characters that everybody's become familiar with. I don't think... What I hate about Flashpoint is the fact that Barry's actually finally happy and he has to make a decision that since nothing was like it was before. I mean, what else I don't understand what Barry Allen actually thought was going to happen. If he just thought, oh yeah, my mom's going to be alive and everything else will be just the same. If so, you're an idiot. But that's just one of the consequences of going back and changing time. So the fact, it kind of annoyed me that, oh, well, he's perfectly happy, but he's not happy because his friends are not happy. So he's got to go back in time and stop stop this event from changing. And the problem is that we find out that almost similar to what we see in the DC universe. After Flashpoint occurs, yeah, it comes back and it seems like everything's okay, and then you get the New 52. It's not,
and nobody wants that.
No, nothing's all right. Doesn't matter how many times you try to go back and fix it. Something is still going to continue to screw up. So how they handled it, I think it was okay. I love how he comes back and still things aren't fixed. It's not like he just went back and flipped the switch. It still had repercussions throughout time, and things weren't all back to normal as he went back. So anyway, I enjoyed it. Anytime, I've said it many a time on every podcast, I have the opportunity to talk about something that involves time travel, you put that plot device in it. If it's handled well, which I think they did fine, then I really enjoy I really enjoy whatever it is presented. So I was okay with it. Ronnie?
I think they did very well for what they had. Of course, like you said, they don't have a whole DC universe to back up, everything that they did with the Flashpoint paradox. But there's only so much you can do when it's these TV shows. That you have to write your own, you have to make up your own stuff to go along with it. So I enjoyed it.
Did we?
I do.
I was going to say, did we get a whole lot about the rival? I think he was only like part of that after Flashpoint, or when Flashpoint occurred. And then as we go into the next episodes, like obviously after Flashpoint is quote unquote corrected, the rival's no more. I thought it was neat to have another, I mean, how many evil speedsters can you have? But it was neat to have another speedster.
There's been like 7.
Yeah. I wanted more of the rival for some reason, but that didn't last.
All right, let me. I'm of two minds about Flashpoint. One, I enjoyed the episode. I have in my description tonight, what would you sacrifice to have everything you've ever wanted? I like the idea of playing with, again, these CW shows are mostly melodramas, with the exception of Legends, which is more sci-fi. But, the Flash is absolutely a melodrama. And even though there's action in it, even though there's comic book elements to it, the show is nothing without its relationships and its feelings. And they've run Barry, through season 1 and season 2, they've run Barry through the mill. They killed his mom. They killed his dad. The first Harrison Wells turned out to be a villain. They have fucked with this guy 8 ways from Sunday. And I think recognizing that there comes to a point with every human being that there's only so far you can push them before they're going to break and do something terrible. And his terrible thing was to go back and change, to abuse his power and go back and change history for his own selfish reasons. I actually thought that was great. And then I thought how they handled, in a world, in the Flashpoint world, yes, you have your parents, but you'll have no one else. You won't have Iris. You won't have Cisco. You won't have Caitlin. You certainly won't have Harrison Wells, and you won't be the Flash, by the way. It was another aspect of it, that if he had stayed there any longer, he was going to start losing his powers. Because in this world, he didn't get, he didn't get struck by the dark matter. I thought all that was great. And I said I was of two minds of it. Here's my second mind of sorts, my sort of negative opinion on the matter. As an episode itself, it was fine. It informed the entire rest of the season to one degree or another. And in a lot of ways, it hit the reset button and just changed a lot of character dynamics.
Oh, yeah.
Just because time travel. That was the reason.
It is clearly obvious that the showrunners used that specific plot point or plot development, however you want to call it. They use that so that they can just almost use it to spin a new season with the same characters, but just a tiny different roles. Just a tiny bit different.
They established in season 2 that Wally West doesn't get super speed and that Caitlin isn't Killer Frost in this world. And then they were just like, what? Fuck it, Flashpoint. And now they did.
Yep. Yep.
And so there are other minor details, but there's another show that I used to watch on the Sci-Fi Network. I don't remember the name of it anymore, but it was a sci-fi heavy science detective show where basically the constable of the town, there's a U.S. Marshal becomes the constable of this town, and this town is filled with scientists that work for this one company. And
you're talking about Eureka.
Yeah, Eureka.
Oh, that's a great show.
Eureka was great. The only problem with Eureka, every season or so, they say, fuck it, and change everything. It just, and time travel happened, and everything changed, or they somehow end up in an alternate universe, and now everyone's different. If you were black, you were white in this universe. If you were a boy, you were a girl. People met, dogs and cats were living together. It was mass hysteria every fucking season. And it got to be a little excessive. So they're obviously not going to do that with Flash. I think they're done with time travel as a means to change character dynamics as such. So, but it's a little frustrating for me, and you guys can take a minute to respond to this, and then we'll move on to talking about the episodes and the other dynamics. It just gets to me because I feel like it's lazy writing. And I'm not saying by doing Flashpoint the writers are being lazy. I just feel like if it becomes overused or abused, it could be writers become too reliant on fuck it, time travel as an explanation for things, and that frustrates me.
Yeah, I mean, I feel where you're coming from. I understand that using something too much and you see it, if an audience sees it so much, they're going to get tired of it. What we have here is a case where we have so many superhero shows. It affords them the opportunity for a show that has that type of trope, sci-fi, we got superheroes, and if it's afforded there and they have the opportunity, it's going to feel like, laziness for them to use it. Man, I don't know. I am torn because I love seeing it. I love seeing it be used, but man, I remember how we had that one conversation about, there's going to be too much, we were talking about Marvel movies. There's going to be too many superhero movies. It's going to oversaturate the market. Everybody's going to be upset. That was, me being paranoid. I'm paranoid about time travel as well, being used too often, because it's going to start to get abused. And to be honest, what they did here in these seasons that with the Flash, it's clear that they just used that, or they used another dimension like they did with Wells. They bring in the whole new Wells. Guy acts totally different compared to the other one, which made, I think, the show a little bit more fun. But the fact that they had, they have that opportunity to just change things on a dime if they wanted to. Yeah, I think they're going to use it. Yeah, I understand you're frustrated, man. Ronnie?
Well, when they have a character that everybody likes, and everybody liked Wells. Everybody did. I liked Wells. When you find out he's, Reverse Flash and or Professor Zoom or whatever, one of the 9,000 names that he has in the comic books, but he was Zoom in this. But
changed his
it kind of
Zoom.
Ham sandwich Anders. But he, it was kind of disappointing to see that character go away. So you want the ratings, you want people to be happy with it, so you have to switch things on a dime. So and then comes Earth 2. So the Earth 2 doctor comes back over, and then voila, you've got a full Team Flash again. And so they're going to use these opportunities because it's a comic book show.
Yep.
How many times has this happened in the comic books? How many people have come back from the dead? How many times has DC rebranded, relaunched, and how many crises have they had? So I mean, they're from their source material, they're doing pretty good, but as a show, I can see the frustration.
Okay, so just real quick, and I'm not going to summarize every episode, but in Paradox, Barry comes to realize there has been multiple changes to the original timeline. As I said before, and I screwed this up, Iris has not forgiven Joe for concealing that their mother was alive. Cisco is angry with him for not altering the timeline to save his brother Dante from being killed by, I believe it's a drunk driver. We have Julian Albert, who is his new CSI partner, who does not like to trust him. Yes, Malfoy. I could not remember his Harry Potter name. Yeah, now he works with Malfoy, and then Malfoy thinks he sucks.
It is a Harry Potter name.
So we have all kinds of problems here, and it is revealed to the audience, but not to anyone in the show just yet, that Caitlin has Killer Frost powers.
This is by far the most frustrating part of this show for me is Caitlin Snow and her struggle between evil and being a normal person. And we can get more into that, but man.
Yeah, well, that's something I want to debate with you. So we'll double back on that when it becomes more relevant after she goes full dark side.
Yes.
All right, so Barry's like, oh, well, this isn't going to work either for me. I don't want everyone mad at each other. So he tries to go back in time to fix it. He's intercepted by Jay Garrick, who tells him, look, you idiot, you can't keep doing this.
Jay Garrick / Jesse Starcher. Thank you, Jay Garrick.
Look stupid. the timeline never resets exactly, and he has to learn to live with his mistakes, and it would be helpful if he stopped going back in time and fucking things up in the first place. Now, the first 9 episodes deal with the immediate impact of Flashpoint, and the villain for the first 9 episodes is Alchemy. We have this being running around who is recreating the metas from the Flashpoint timeline. First one being the Rival. Later on we'll do Magenta and some others. But we have Alchemy running around using the Sorcerer's Stone. No joke. That's the actual name. The Philosopher's Stone, not the Sorcerer's Stone. Sorry. The Philosopher's Stone to create metahumans from Flashpoint. They take down the Rival, but there's more to come. So let's just talk about that. The first 9 episodes we'll call the Alchemy episodes. As the first major arc, everything coming out of Flashpoint, et cetera, et cetera. So that's Paradox, Magenta, the new Rogue, Monster, which if you'll remember is the one kid with the hologram that's running around allegedly killing the city. Shade, Killer Frost, hang on, nope. Okay, they do introduce Savitar in the first 9 episodes. They introduce him at the end of 6, which is called Shade. But I think where I want to say they really did bookend things and say, okay, we're going to shift from Alchemy to Savitar is episode 9, and that's the present. So it really is the first 9 episodes that deal mostly with Alchemy. And Savitar is a minor part of it. And in between there, we also have the Invasion episode, which was the big crossover with Supergirl, Arrow, and the Legends of Tomorrow, where the Dominator showed up. And then, like I said, then we have the present, and then we broke for the season, and we come back with borrowing problems from the future. So let's just right now talk about the first 9 episodes. Jesse, from what you can remember, what did you think about these episodes coming out of Flashpoint and then Paradox that dealt mostly with Alchemy?
I wasn't too thrilled with the whole Alchemy thing, and that whole Alchemy arc. It just felt like I had this. Well, it ended up being Julian, right? It was Julian, and like you couldn't tell that from the first little hint. And like for 7 episodes, they kind of kept you hanging on. Like, is it going to be him? Is it going to be him? I knew from the get go, it was Julian because the guy's a jerk anyway. And then we had all these little clues throughout. And I really don't remember that being that big of a plot point. How did he tie? What was the biggest part about that? I mean, do you guys remember? Other than just trying to figure out who he was and him bringing back the rogues, was there anything else that stuck out that Alchemy did that made it seem like he was a huge threat?
No, but he introduces plot elements that they heavily rely on for the rest of the season. From episode 10 on until the very end of season 3. Savitar is the big bad, and he's really the central figure. Mm-hmm. And the Philosopher's Stone is a big part of that. And we'll talk about that when we get to those episodes. But he's more of it isn't so much what he does; it's what he brings to it's what plot elements he brings to the table.
Yeah. I think the other thing but for those episodes was, again, it was just Barry kind of feeling out the familiarity and the differences of what he was used to in the previous universe compared to what he was in now. I mean, they were talking about, I'm looking at the synopsis for episode 6 here called Shade, and it says, when Wally starts having dreams about being Kid Flash, Barry realizes he has to tell Wally, Iris, and Joe about what actually happened to Wally in Flashpoint in order to try and keep him safe. So, reset button again, and we kind of have to go through him telling Wally, and don't they have to totally retrain him again. He becomes Kid Flash. And I'm saying again, he was Kid Flash in season 2, right? Before Flashpoint? No. He was not. Okay.
Nope.
So this is our introduction to him actually becoming.
No, real quick. In season 2, there's a dark matter explosion again that him and Earth 2 Wells' daughter Jessie get hit with, and she ends up getting speed, and she becomes Jessie Quick.
That's right.
And that's
yes.
And that's one of his big character issues. Is I want to be a speedster too, and it never happens for him.
Yep. So now he's in this one. They develop Wally and his speed, and letting him know, okay, hey man, you're a speedster as well, which was pretty cool. But I'm trying to think of some of my favorite stuff that happened in those episodes. And these, I will tell you right now, the crossover I was tremendously excited about. The 4-part crossover is one of the things that I love about comics as well as shows.
Okay.
I mean, whenever you can cross over a show, go ahead.
Can we put pause on that? I want to get
absolutely.
Ronnie in here to talk about. I want to get Ronnie in here to talk about the Alchemy episodes, the Alchemy arc, and then we can talk specifically about Invasion, and then get into the Savitar arc. So, Ronnie,
okay.
My same question to you. What did you think of the Alchemy storyline from Paradox through the present, episode 9?
I really have to echo what Jesse said on that. I mean, it wasn't. It's been a little while too, so forgive me for that. But it's at this point, I hate to say it, but I was kind of in that let's hurry up and get through it and see where it's going stage. So it was good. I mean, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it, but it was just, like you said, I'm just confused at how many speedsters there are and what happened to some, and just like you said with Jesse and it's just how many people can run really fast in one universe. We're up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 7 now, and it's. Is there no other superpower set that they can think of coming out of Flash right now? So,
well, when you've got a television budget as opposed to a movie budget, yes. You use your powers. True. You can either shoot lasers or run fast. That's it.
Well, you had Adam Edge Copeland as who did you play in that?
I know who you talk. I remember the episode. I don't remember what powers he ended up having.
Gosh, well, I mean, I think he was just really strong. So, but it was good. I enjoyed it. I've always enjoyed the Flash. So that's pretty much where I am on that.
One of the things that I remember hearing somebody say recently was that shows like the Flash and Legends, it's hard to really keep you interested in that long game without getting upset about the fact that we're not at the end of that long game. And Alchemy to me felt like that, it was that, it was like, okay, hurry up. Let's get to it. Just like Ronnie said, let's get to the end of this and figure out who's next. Okay, we know that something big's got to happen. I wasn't interested. I wasn't as interested as I think they would have wanted me to, because it just didn't feel. It didn't feel like a threat. Almost. I didn't feel like it anyway.
Adam Smasher. That's who Copeland was.
Okay. Here's my opinion on the matter, and then we'll. No, you're fine. We'll talk a little bit about Invasion and then move on. I feel like they knew Savitar was the big bad of this season. They knew that episodes 10 through 23, so 13 episodes. After the mid-seasonish break between December and January, because the present took place on December 6th, and then we picked up the second half of the season with borrowing problems from the future on January 24th. I feel like the showrunners and the writers and directors and everybody said, okay, we know that the second half of the season is going to be stronger than the first. We need to get there, but we need to, Flashpoint has to have some consequences, and it can't just be relationship stuff. This is not just that kind of a show. There has to be superhero stuff happening as well. And so
yeah.
I think Alchemy was less a character and more a plot tool to to throw more metas at Barry, but giving them, but making it more interesting than just the meta of the week.
Yes.
It was, hey, well, what if these are further consequences of Barry's giant fuck up? That gives this stuff added weight. So, for example, you have Magenta. She's a girl who didn't have powers before, but now has powers as a result of Flashpoint, and she's causing all these problems. This is something Barry has. It's not just a meta that he has to deal with. It's the consequence of his actions that have caused a great problem. So in that sense, I thought it was strong, even if the character itself was kind of a nothing character.
It was more of a means to an end.
Yeah.
A gateway to the good stuff. It was a holdover. You were in a cooler airport waiting for the ride to your destination.
All right, so the big
four-part
crossover, the big four-part crossover that occurred between Arrow's Legends, The Flash, and Supergirl. Invasion, the Dominators. Jesse, you were starting to talk about this. Give it to me, brother.
Okay, like I said, comic book crossover is one of my favorite things ever. If you had a title crossing over with another one, X-Men, you saw X-Men and X-Factor, and there was a large crossover multi-issue. For some reason, I really dug that as a kid. But when companies crossed over, that was even better. Now, when it comes to TV shows, when TV shows can do a crossover, that's a big thing. So I was excited when I first heard. I was like, oh, man, they're going to actually do a crossover between all four. And we've had, I think, clearly Flash and Arrow have crossed over before this, but I think this is the first four-parter that they've ever done involving everybody in the Arrowverse. My biggest criticism was the fact that they made me watch. This was the first Supergirl episode I ever watched, by the way, and so I could make sure that I don't miss any part of this crossover. I had to watch that Supergirl part first, I think, and everything dealt with the whole show first, and then at the very end, we got a tiny little bit of what started the crossover. That made me kind of mad. But regardless, I would have loved to have seen all of them at the beginning of that episode. It seemed like they just wasted that whole episode. And they got me. How's that? They got me. But anyway, I watched their show, damn it. But yeah, the Dominators themselves, that was pretty cool. The first exposure I ever had to the Dominators were actually back on source material. Like it was like the 8th episode, 7th episode, where it was a crossover between the JLA and Predator. And the Dominators were the ones that got a hold of the Predators and the JLA and combined their DNA to make these like super predators, and the Dominators were all behind it. So I was like, oh man, what could they possibly bring in this series? Well, I enjoyed it. You get to see a lot of how this is where some of the effects of Flashpoint actually were shown to have affected other characters, like in DC Legends. Specifically Professor Stein and his daughter that he never knew he had. He's gone on about gallivanting through time with Legends, the rest of the Legends, and comes back and he finds out that he has a daughter, all because of this effect from Flashpoint. So I loved the theory of the crossover. The execution at the beginning I didn't like, but towards the end I was satisfied. I mean, we got everybody in there. Everybody was doing something. It could have been a little bit more accessible because there was some stuff. If you weren't watching a certain show, you didn't know why, like, Arrow was acting like he was.
I was going to say, the Arrow episode confused the fuck out of me.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, what's going on? So, but I still was able to understand the whole overarching part of it.
I think my favorite part of the invasion were the allusions to the comic book stuff. They're using it. They're using a hangar bay. It looks suspiciously like the Hall of Justice. Things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I got a kick out of. Honestly, I think the Flash and the Legends episode were the strongest episodes of the invasion. The Arrow episode was more of it's a Wonderful Life kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And that was all that happened in that episode. And again, if you weren't watching Arrow, it was completely useless to the overall storyline. And you're right, Supergirl was like 99.9% a Supergirl episode, and Barry shows up at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Jump into this portal. We need you. All right.
Get into the car. Bring Jennifer along.
Yeah. We need her too. Molly, get your kid.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
All right, Ronnie, your real quick thoughts on the invasion storyline, and then we're going to move on to part 2 of second half of the season of Flashpoint.
I'm like Jesse. I'm always really excited to see crossovers like that. It's funny to me that Arrow started out, and the only character that out of these TV shows that really came out of Arrow was Barry Allen. That's the only one I remember seeing spawn from the TV show that spawned from Arrow, even though we call it the Arrowverse.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the Legends and everything else, Supergirl and all that. Did Supergirl show up first on the Flash, or did she just show up on her own?
No, well, Supergirl started out as her own thing on CBS. Then they decided, and I want to say it was in the first
part
season,
of the
they decided to do, they decided that they were going to make her part of the Arrowverse by having Barry run to Earth 38 for some strange reason. When they did the famous Superman versus the Flash race at the end of it for fun. But I think they decided that, I think they knew at some point they were going to move Supergirl to the CW, and they just decided, well, fuck it, we might as well make her part of that universe.
Yeah. So, seeing all these characters come together, it was really cool. It was, they do suck you in. I never thought about that. You have to watch pretty much all of them. Shows that you don't normally watch. I watch all of them pretty much, except for Legends, and then, but you do have to watch most all of them to understand what's going on in the whole thing. So it was good. I've always enjoyed the crossovers, big events, things like that. So the Dominators looked really, really odd, apart from their comic book counterpart, because I remember them looking a little more humanoid than they did in this.
Mm-hmm.
So I enjoyed their spin on the Arrowverse spin on them. So it was something that I was into. So I didn't really just look at it and go, oh, God, this is awful. So the crossover worked really well for me.
All right, so we wrap up the first part of the season with the present. They use this is where we learn how Julian got the Philosopher's Stone, and they're gonna get you get his backstory. We have Savitar and essentially the Philosopher's Stone sort of fucking with Cisco. As they're trying to get him to open the box once they closed it again. They communicate with Savitar through Julian, who claims that that Barry in the future will imprison him. They say one teammate will betray him, one will fall, and the third will suffer a fate worse than death. They throw the Philosopher's Stone, and they think they throw all of it, into the Speed Force, but in the process, Barry is thrown 5 months into the future, and he witnesses a returning Savitar killing Iris on Infantino Street. Jay tells Barry the future is not fixed, while he officially becomes Kid Flash, and Julian gets Barry's job back for him, and they are now, more or less friendly with one another than they were before. And Barry starts to do crazy things because he thinks Iris is going to die, so he gets them a new apartment. And that ends the first part of the season. We pick up the second half of the season with borrowing problems from the future, which is basically they look at what happened 5 months from now, and the conclusion is if they could change all of these events, then certainly they'll change the event of Savitar killing Iris on Infantino Street. That's the theory, at least. We deal with that for the first 3 episodes before we take a break from what essentially is the major central piece of the second half of the season. Savitar is going to kill Iris, and we have to stop him. So let's just take these in pieces. So we've got borrowing problems from the future, Dead or Alive, which is our introduction to Gypsy, who is an Earth 19 bounty hunter, and Earth 19 is where they have HR and Jesse Quick, and then we have Untouchable, which is episode 12. So first 3 episodes of the what we'll call the Savitar part of the season. What do you think, Jesse?
It was good. It gives us a focus. We have to figure out what we're going to do and how we're going to do it in order to try and stop Iris from getting killed. And what's crazy about it is that man, Barry has been plagued with, hey, you're going to go back. If you go back in time, you're going to screw things up. You're going to screw things up. Well, he decides, I've got to make sure that this is what's going to happen, and proceeds to go forward in time some more. It's like, this guy can't win. If he goes back in time, he goes forward in time, and now he's faced with the inevitability that the one love of his life is potentially going to die. So we've got to try and figure out how we're going to do that. So as borrowing problems from the future, where he goes, is that where he goes into the future and confronts himself up there?
That happens later. Oh, okay, we're going to get there, Jesse, I promise. But that
I couldn't remember.
Okay, this is the bit where they vibe 5 months into the future, and they are able to sort of take in more of what's happening. And they get more details about what's going to happen 5 months from now, so that they can try to change things.
Let me ask you guys a question. Did HR grow on you, Mark Radulich? Did you like HR?
Yeah, I thought HR as a muse was a fun character. They don't necessarily always need the smartest guy in the room sort of moving them along. I like the idea of he was an inspiration for ideas that the other smart people had. And I thought, and his character also, look, the episodes 10 through 23 some of them are very, very heavy episodes. I mean, they really hammered the melodrama on a lot of and I wanted to take this in parts so there's a little bit more digestible rather than, either episode by episode or trying to talk about the whole season. Because I think, unlike Black Sails, right, Ronnie, this is way too big to talk about in just large scopes. There's just too much happening. But what I was getting to was I thought that HR was the clown, was the comedy relief of the season that it sorely needed. And he was considering they're going to use him as a big sacrifice at the end, which I hope they don't then undo with some Eureka bullshit. I actually was attached to the character and was sad to see him go.
Yeah.
So, Ronnie, do you want to just talk about that real quick? What did you think of this iteration of HR?
I like you said, he was needed in the series to bring some levity to it, some lightheartedness. Because no matter what Barry can do, or what Barry does is something always screws up for him. But he's not forgettable, and he's a very good character. He was a sacrifice that was, instead of doing having somebody else sacrifice, it was him. And the only thing that could ruin that is Flash running around the Earth backwards to turn back time.
Yeah.
And so it's sad to see a likable character go, but sometimes they do. They have to, to push the story forward.
How about Gypsy was, I think, introduced here, or was she?
Yeah.
Was she introduced, or did she come back? Okay.
Nope, she's introduced.
So what do you think of Gypsy?
I like the Gypsy character. I mean, we're looking for good. The posters are out on trees, ladies and gentlemen. We're looking for good, strong superhero type women. That's where we are right now in society. And and she's fine. They gave her a power set. She's very confident in that power set, and she was believable.
Became a love interest for Cisco as well, which I don't know if that surprised me or not, but I enjoyed that part. I like the fact that these two people, could come together across universes. But that kind of stuck out to me. I enjoyed that. Ronnie, what did you think of Gypsy?
Oh, good character. Not much. I mean, it was a good character. Yeah, absolutely. But good character, but didn't. I mean, like, it's one of those characters. I don't want to say she was the flavor of the week or meta of the week, like you said, but definitely not that. But I don't know. I didn't get much into the character, I guess.
Okay.
All right. So we have our first break.
I'm not much help.
Season. We have our first break in the second season from the overall arc, which is Avatar kills Iris. Boy, this is the most coughingest podcast. And it's a two-part episode. I know, right? It's a two-part episode featuring Gorilla Grodd.
Oh, yeah.
I love this story arc. It's a two-episode story arc, but it's fucking great. I really enjoy the Gorilla Grodd character. I've enjoyed how they've used Gorilla Grodd and what little changes they've made to make it work for a television show. I thought going to Gorilla City was fantastic. And then the return, and then the gorillas launching an attack on the central city of Earth 1. That whole episode was great. This is another one where Barry is driven to become the villain. This is a big theme of this season. Does Barry make the wrong decisions and become the villain, or will he remain the hero? That's definitely one of the central themes of the season. And in dealing with Grodd, that comes up again. I love these two episodes. Jesse, what did you think?
Yeah, they were good. He kind of has to use his brains a little bit here to try and figure out how to beat Gorilla Grodd. At first, I think, if I remember right, doesn't he help him? Number one, he thinks he's doing a good thing by helping Gorilla Grodd take over Gorilla City, and then that comes back to, that's not so. That doesn't help out so very well. And if I remember correctly, this all tied in with the whole Iris thing, because this was it was a casual mention on the TV or something, or maybe it was the newspaper as they vibed into the future. So I thought that was neat. But man, Gorilla Grodd's a pretty awesome. He's a pretty awesome rogue, to be honest. I mean, a freaking telepathic gorilla. You're gonna have some trouble. What do you think, Ronnie?
Gorilla Grodd has always been one of my favorites just because he's so ridiculous. I mean, like you said, he's a telepathic gorilla. And who would ever think of that? So I was really excited to see that they were going to use him, and they used him so well in this, and Gorilla City, the whole nine. I'm actually playing Injustice right now. Not right now, but I got Injustice 2. The Gorilla Grodd is on there, and so I was pretty stoked about that. I don't know why, but he is, and my dog just belched in my face, so that's awesome. So I enjoyed it. I really did. It was so cool to see Gorilla Grodd.
I'm looking at the synopsis here. They talk about how Jesse Quick decided to stay with Wally on Earth 1. I remember that because she was gonna leave him at first and go back over, but then she decided to kind of stick around and give. There's again, we have these dimensionally crossed lovers who are fighting to stay together, and I think that was a good important part. Give Wally something. You're rooting for those two to stay together.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Then we have another 2 episodes that deal directly with Savitar. One is called The Wrath of Savitar. And then we have Into the Speed Force. The arc here is that Savitar is doing manipulations and screwing with people because he's got this plan that's laid out. Now, here we have one of them will betray you, and it's Caitlin, who confesses that she has kept part of the Philosopher's Stone, which is what has allowed Savitar to communicate with Wally and others and cause them to have visions. And in fact, Savitar shows Wally a vision of his mother. Wally takes a piece of the Philosopher's Stone and throws it into the Speed Force, believing that this will exile Savitar for good. However, this instead sucks Wally into the Speed Force, allowing Savitar to escape. And he tells Barry, I'm not going to kill you yet. I still have plans for you. And I'm certainly not going to kill you before I make you watch as I kill Iris. So the second episode to this, the second part of this basically, is Barry goes into the Speed Force to rescue Wally. Let's see. Having been contacted by Cisco, Jay Garrick joins Barry inside the Speed Force and voluntarily takes Wally's place so Barry and Wally can escape. And the rest of it sort of deals with Barry and Iris and their relationship sort of being screwed with by the possibility of her being stabbed in the back and how that's affecting Barry. So, again, we're breaking this into little parts here. We have this two-part story of Savitar hatching this plan to get out of the Speed Force and him being successful, and then Barry rescuing Wally from the Speed Force and moving forward in dealing with Savitar. Again, I'll switch it around. Ronnie, what did you think of this two-part episode?
To be honest with you, I'm sitting here thinking, should I be really honest? It was another one of those arcs I was kind of like, I was okay with. I just really wasn't into. I don't know why. The whole Speed Force thing and everything. It's good, but it didn't keep my interest. I don't know. It was one of those ones where I was watching, but I was doing something, it was on in the background, to be very honest with you. I was probably washing dishes or something like that.
Well,
it just couldn't keep my interest.
Let me slip in here real quick and ask you a question there, Ronnie. Mm-hmm. I mean, were you at all, involved with trying to figure out who Savitar was? Was that something where you were kind of watching? I don't know if you're into spoilers or not, but everybody was trying to figure out who Savitar was. Oh my God, who could it be? Did you have any theories, or were you one of the ones that were kind of okay, well, whoever the hell Savitar is, whatever? But what do you think?
No, because the one I was really into was Reverse Flash.
Really? It almost felt like a repeat of that.
Yeah, that's probably why I wasn't into it, because The guy that they got to play who wasn't Jay Garrick, the only part I didn't like about that was Jay say his name, Jay Garrick, turned out to be, a clone of Barry's dad or whatever, that Earth's, whatever. But the guy that they had playing, doppelganger. The guy that they had playing Zoom it was Zoom. I get them mixed up how they labeled them.
Speedster 3, Speedster 4.
Okay.
Reverse Speedster 1.
The one in the black costume that talked really deep all the time.
Yes, that's Zoom.
That one,
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, Zoom. The guy that was playing Zoom, who was pretending to be Jay Garrick, was perfect as Jay Garrick. So I was a little disappointed seeing that he really wasn't, the Flash from that Earth. But I love that whole mystery. Who is he? What's he doing? Oh my gosh, it's him. He's not really the Flash, and all that stuff. So this one felt like a repeat of that whole storyline. So I just didn't really care. I mean, I care, but I'm like, they'll get there eventually. I'll find out who it is. So it just didn't keep my attention.
I feel your pain. I remember watching, okay, here we got Savitar again. It felt like we'd done this already. However, the mystery still intrigued me. I wanted to know who this guy was this Savitar was a speedster on a level that, the Flash couldn't beat. And that was kind of the thing that also had you on the edge of your seat when you knew what was going to happen with Iris. He was not fast enough, no matter how hard he tried, to try and get there and stop him from killing Iris, at least in these visions that were leading up to this. So the threat of Savitar felt kind of real. And the mystery of Savitar, I was like, okay, who could this possibly be? People were throwing out names, and I remember somebody saying, it was going to be, oh crap, I can't even remember the name of the person that they used. But another one of them, of course, was Barry from the future. And I was like, okay, why? Number one, why would he do this? Why in the world would he do this?
Right.
Why would he kill the one person that he loves? So that to me didn't make any sense. Now, as we, and this two episode arc just again kind of helps support the nefarious motives of Savitar. Why is he messing with Barry? Why does he continue to do this? And we're just building and building, and he knows it's going to happen. I'm killing Iris, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it. I enjoy the build up a little bit of it, but because I know that how are they going to beat them? That was the fun part of trying to figure out what they're going to do this season. How are they going to? We're coming up at the end. This is episode 15 and 16. So what do they have up their sleeve?
There's only so much that you think that one character can take, though, because Barry Allen is kind of like this universe's Peter Parker. Everybody he loves dies. In some way.
Multiple times, apparently.
Multiple times. He can't have what he really wants without it blowing up in his face. He changes things, and while he's in the good, he's living a good life. Everybody else is miserable. So immediately he's like, well, I can't be happy because everybody else is miserable. It's just like it's the Parker luck. I can't be happy. That's not right. So let's change everything, and I'll be miserable, and everybody else will be happy. So I'm just like, how much can he take? Why is he DC? Why is he the punching bag right now?
Mm-hmm. Did you have any theories, Mark, on Savitar when you were watching this?
I think Savitar was one of two people. It was Barry Allen, which we will talk about in just a few minutes, or it was Ronnie, the original Firestorm.
Oh, right. I didn't do
it. The original Firestorm, Caitlin's betrothed. I thought it might be him. I think when they did the thing where he pops out of the pops out of the armor, and and Caitlin has this like, oh shit, look on her face. Like, what do you need me to do? All right, well, there's only two people that would give her that reaction. It would either be Barry, some other iteration of Barry, or it would have to have been Ronnie. So I figured, so when the reveal happens that, that the Reverse Flash is actually Barry, and then the explanation is, oh, he's a time remnant that went crazy, I was like, whatever. At this point, I was like, all right, I don't care as much about who this character is as much as I care, like how are they going to defeat him, are they really going to kill Iris? Is that where this is going? What's going to happen here? So I'm more interested in that.
I don't want to jump ahead, but I do want to talk about, or at least put this in your minds, about how awkward it was when Iris was trying to talk, Barry, Time Remnant Barry, into sticking around. And I'm like, that shit ain't going to work. There's no way that this guy is going to stick around and watch unscarred Barry make out with you and not have some kind of an issue with it. Because, two Barrys in the same room. Now, Mark, I don't get salacious on me here. I know exactly where your mind's going. But,
I actually just pulled up the quote from the Once and Future Flash. So I want to talk about Duet for a minute, and then we need to have this debate live on the air.
All right.
No.
Yeah.
I know where it's going.
Welcome to the neckbeard portion of our discussion.
Oh, I have a neckbeard. What?
All right. I want to talk about Duet. But I don't want to cut you off. So is there anything else that you want to discuss real quick?
I'm good.
Okay. All right. So before there's yet another break and we go headlong into the final episode of Season 3, I don't want to call it a complete throwaway episode. It's in the crossover. This time it's just Supergirl and the Flash. It deals with the Music Meister. And it's, every show does these. They have an episode where everyone sings. That's the trope in television.
I think it's all because Josh Calandros wished it that way. I don't know why.
His favorite.
I think his exact words were like, I am not fucking watching this. Something along those lines.
Well, look, I thought it was a fun episode. As far as weaving it into the narrative, it again, much like the Gorilla Grodd episodes, it gave you a break from the everything is about Savitar. This is one of the problems I have with Arrow, is there's almost never a break in his never-ending, his whole life is falling apart, and everyone's life he touches, it becomes destroyed narrative. That's fine.
Yeah, that's mostly his fault, though.
Well, again,
that's the only thing.
There's never an episode where Arrow and Felicity go ice skating. No one ever breaks into song. It's the most depressing show ever. This I actually enjoy because again, it gave Supergirl a break, it gave the Flash a break, and it gave us a break from Savitar, which I think was needed in the overall narrative of the season. What they're dealing with here is that Iris has reacted to Barry's proposal to her negatively because she realizes he's only doing it because he's obsessed with changing the future so she doesn't kick a knife in the back. And she's like, that's not a reason to marry somebody. Sorry. So they're on the out. There's an issue on Supergirl with Kara and Mon-El where I think Mon-El has lied to her in some way. And she's like, nope, you're less than perfect, and therefore I don't want you, which is an issue with Kara. So we have this episode, Duet, where the Music Meister says, you must play through the play that I have put you in. If you don't participate, you'll die. So there's a whole bunch of singing and dancing that happens. It's a fun episode, if you're into that sort of thing. But overall, they realize that they really do, in their heart of hearts, love Mon-El and Iris, They are saved by the real Cisco and Mon-El, and they admit their love for their betrothed, and everyone moves on to the next episode. Just 50 words apiece, guys. Duet. Jesse?
It was okay. I remember there being like this mega twist that took me by surprise at the end, where it seemed like everything was all hunky-dory. Not at the very end, not after they wake up, but like at the end of the script or something like that. Like where it seemed like the families were going to come together, and then all of a sudden it was like, nope, that's not going to happen. Instead, we're going to war. And I was like, okay. That part I enjoyed. They did a good job in making it not the typical stuff that I thought was going to happen in a musical episode, especially as they portrayed it. So I enjoyed it.
Ronnie?
I liked it. I mean, I'm not as down on these musical episodes as Josh Calandra. Yeah, they're fun. It was meant to. I mean, honestly, when they wrote it, they probably wrote it with the thought of lightening things up and just, hey, we got to have something in here where the world isn't really, going to explode at any second, and it still had its consequences and everything. But it reminded me of the one episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Once More with Feeling. So, and it was a complete. It was a completely musical episode. So that one was kind of a fun watch as well. So I just kind of remember.
There was a episode of Oz. Okay. I think it's the last season where the characters from Oz all sang songs, including what's his face from Biohazard, which is fantastic.
Well, there's a we're talking about Buffy the Vampire Slayer and the Flash. When you talk about Oz, you think of what is the
bucket in the bud.
No.
Was that the song? Was that one of the songs on the episode?
No, it was not.
Okay,
ladies and gentlemen,
when you think of Oz, you think of getting shanked in the yard and in prison rape, I guess you could say, because that's all that happened on that show.
Is that what Ronnie calls fucking in the butt, getting shanked in the yard? Is that what you call it?
No.
Shanked in the backyard, baby.
Nice. Oh my God. What do you all do this to me?
Ronnie talking to someone.
Yeah.
Hey, you ever been shanked in your backyard?
Oh my Lord.
Let me play you some music. My favorite episode of Oz.
Can't let anybody listen to this one because I will stay single.
All right, so before this part of the season ends and we start fresh again in a couple of weeks later, there's an episode called Abracadabra, and without getting into all the details of it, all that really matters here is that this is the episode where Caitlin almost dies, and in order to save her, they have to take off her necklace that stops her from being Killer Frost, which she then becomes. And she's Killer Frost from now until, the end of time after this. This is a major plot point of the last couple of episodes as she becomes an underling of Savitar. All right, ladies and gentlemen. We are down to the last couple of episodes, the final arc in the Savitar season of Flashpoint, Flash, Season 3. But once in future Flash, I know who you are. Cause and effect, Infantino Street, and finally the finish line. All right, here's what happened. Barry travels to 2024, where he learns that Cisco has lost his powers after Killer Frost shattered his hands and has caused him to use mechanical prosthetics. HR has become a successful novelist. Julian works at Iron Heights tending to Killer Frost, and Wally is catatonic with a shattered spine. Joe is depressed, and future Barry is a recluse hiding at Star Labs, like the Phantom of the Opera. And in the absence of In the absence of a active Flash, the Top and Mirror Master have taken over Central City. Barry went to 2024 to learn Savitar's identity, or how exactly they were able to defeat him, I believe is part of what drives him to go there. Now, here is what I wrote on that particular night on Facebook. If Barry ran to 2024, how in the fucking hell is he talking to himself? Wouldn't he have disappeared for 7 years?
Oh, boy.
Let me explain this in as few words as I possibly can, because we can't do this all night. You have to actually talk about the show. But here's what I'm saying. Barry leaves 2016 and goes to 2024. He is one person. He skips everything from 16 to 24. Therefore, he should have been disappeared from history for that time period. He wasn't there to do anything. In other words, let us say, for example, it is Monday, and you hit yourself over the head with a frying pan, and you don't wake up again till Friday. You have not been able to participate in the events that took place between Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. You were awake on Monday. You were awake again on Friday. How the fuck are you able to participate in time when you weren't there?
Oh, Mark Radulich. You are... Oh, go ahead, continue.
Well,
I don't want to cut you off.
Hang on. So there shouldn't have been a Barry in 2024. The problems that he should have been dealt with would have been, where did you go for 7 years? Why are you only turning up now?
No.
There should have been, when Savitar goes to kill Iris, and he should have been looking around going, where did the Flash go? I don't understand. My plans have all gone to pieces.
No. All right.
Okay.
So, one thing that you're predicating your argument on almost invalidates the argument itself. Let me explain
my argument on logic.
No, you are saying that, hey, if I can time travel into the future, then by what you're trying to say is that you cannot time travel into the past from the future, or back into where you were. So if first off, time travel invalidates all of that because you can move forward and backwards. So
but that is a large contingent of my argument, is that you shouldn't be able to go forward. You are now absent from the timeline. However, if you go into the past, that's okay, and you can find yourself, because those things have already happened. You were there.
Yeah, but you're forgetting about the fact that you can go forward into time and then go back to the same moment that you left. That's, if you have the ability to time travel, you can do either or and continue your life about the way you're going to, whatever normal things you're going to do from after traveling forward into the future. That's the way that it works. If you're trying to say that you can't time travel back, if you're trying to say you can time travel forward, you can also say you can time travel backwards and pick up where you left off. That's
this is
how it happens.
You are one person. If you take yourself out of the timeline and skip a year, you are not participating in that year.
Until you go back to where you left and then pick up where you left off.
You can't be in two places at once in the future. Your present self, look, again, I'm going to go with the Monday through Friday thing. You were alive on Monday. You skip Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You reappear Friday. You don't get credit for existing in Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday simply because of the concept that you could go back to Monday and live that time.
No. The whole concept of time travel supports that you can go back and pick up where you left off. Oh man, I had a good example here. Well, use the show, okay? I mean, we're talking about in this arc the time remnant that is left behind from Barry doing all sorts of stuff. The whole time remnant concept is where Barry will go back and grab somebody and bring them one of his, I think either his future selves. He brings one of his future selves back to where he has a whole bunch of time remnants of his future self helping him do some kind of a task. I think, what's his name, Professor Zoom or Reverse Flash did that. But regardless, hold on. Let me say, hold on. What he's doing there is it's showing you that he can exist at the same time in the same place. His future selves can do that.
Guys, it's got to do all with the time-space continuum.
I don't think me and Mark are going to come to an agreement because this has been stewing for like 7 months.
All I know is Mark,
maybe one.
You're completely destroying with your frame of thought. You're completely destroying and taking apart Jesse's absolute favorite trilogy of movies.
Back to the Future stuff.
And you can't.
He's not touching it. He's not touching it.
Whoa!
He can argue at a wall all he wants. That's the impact that he's having on me.
Back to the Future. Jesse and I have already discussed Back to the Future on Long Road to Ruin, and I gave Jesse the business. They told him Back to the Future.
I didn't even participate in that. I didn't even participate. I had to sit on the sidelines like the good fan I am and boo your ass for giving Back to the Future 2 a bad review. He said it was bad, Ronnie Adams. He said it was bad.
It's not great.
It's not.
I'm kidding.
Back to the Future 3 is fine.
Where do I go from here?
Let me read what Robert Winfrey, who's my expert in temporal physics, okay? Here's what
please.
On April 25th at 11:44 p.m. when I was having a fucking meltdown about this episode. No, the timeline resumes normally, assuming you return and continue living after a successful mission. Consequently, you leave at a point in time and enter a slightly skewed timeline where you come back later and continue living till the timeline you reach when traveling contains you after you return with the expectation of your arrival. It's a bit of a paradox, but time travel almost always contains those. To which I responded, I like cheese.
Of course you did.
And Robert Winfrey responded, that's how almost all conversations around temporal physics end. I've said it many a time myself.
I'm going to eat cheese after this podcast.
Look,
this late?
I'm going to say it one last time because I fucking had it with this. Okay? They can have him talk to his future self all they want, but physically Barry wouldn't have been there until he showed up after having run into the future. Okay? If you run into the future, think of this in terms of real life for just a second. If Jesse and I build a time machine, right, and we go 10 years into the future, that is 10 years we were not there for our family. We were not there participating in life. We show up 10 years. It's like space travel. Have you guys ever heard of the Luke and Leia principle where one is on a planet, the other one's traveling through space, even though they were born twins? So they're born at the same time. I think it's like Luke goes into space, Leia stays on Alderaan, and a year later, after Luke has traveled through space, he's only 1 year old. But because time operates differently on Alderaan than it does while you're traveling through space, Leia is like 20 years old. Get it? Time travel works the same way. All right?
I'm finding a picture of cheese, and I'm changing my profile pic.
Listen, if you and Jesse go and make a time machine, can you go back about 15 minutes and stop this conversation from ever happening? Then we got a story to tell.
All I'm going to say to you is time travel works the same way as space travel and regular time on a planet. And I know this because I read the physics of Star Wars. Read the book, you'll understand.
So I watched that Matthew McConaughey space movie that I can't remember the name of.
Interstellar.
Contact?
Interstellar.
The one with the space bookshelf.
Yes.
Yeah,
Space
the one with
bookshelf.
the portal inside the bookshelf. And I noticed that they were on a planet for a half an hour or an hour. Now, when they went back to their ship, they'd been gone for 10 years or 15 years or however long. I just know back when they went back, their buddy had gray hair. And that blew my mind. So I walked out of the theater and said, Ronnie, like this. Ronnie, want cars go boom. And and they were like, it's okay, Ronnie, go watch this mindless action movie. And then I was happy again. But no, it's the thing about it is though, you got to understand that it's Mark. It's a comic book, and the laws of this world, the actual laws of physics and metaphysics, all this other stuff, temporal physics and the big words that I can't say, don't apply. So
So what you're saying is that this world is consumed with magic, and Barry should have been able to take on Savitar with his magic penis, and if he just waves it around and creates a temporal vortex that sort of sucks Savitar into it and turns him into a cheese sandwich.
That is not at all what I was saying. It's much more interesting than listening to you two fight about time travel.
There's no fight. I'm right.
Okay, yeah, sure. In all honesty, I mean, there's no way we could tell. There's no way that we're not going to have an answer. I can see where you're coming from, Mark Radulich. Believe me, I do actually, honestly. I know where you're coming from and why you would think the way you're thinking, okay? Because I
understand how physics works.
And next episode.
I'm gonna shut up and I'm gonna give Jesse 50 more words, the last word on the subject.
I have.
I'm going to go over in this corner and I'm going to sleep.
Listen, most of my time travel knowledge, albeit I didn't go read a whole lot of books about it or anything like that, but most of it's based off of what I've seen in Back to the Future, the Back to the Future trilogy.
Because there's so many scientific.
Yeah,
there's so much scientific research and books written on time travel.
Hey, I own three.
I'm going to Jesse from now on. I'm going on Amazon and I'm finding every the physics of time travel books I can find, and I'm going to start spamming you with them.
Motherfuckers.
I don't have any money, but what money I do have is now being spent on sending Jesse books on the physics of time travel.
Just put the links on my Facebook page. I'll delete them later.
If you could see me right now, I'm just hugging my dog, and he's uncomfortable because he's uncomfortable. He's like, "Why are you doing this to me right now?" But Logan, you have to help me, buddy.
Oh man, no.
All right.
I listen. I devote my 50 words to repeat what Robert Winfrey said, because everything that he said there, I agree with. And I don't think it has to be retold here. So, moving on.
Okay. Moving on. The Once in the Future Flash, as we've just discussed, is where Barry learns how they're going to defeat Savitar, and he decides, well, why are we waiting until the future to do this? Let's shoot him with a Speed Force trap now. So they got to find the girl, Tracy Brand, who did it, but they got to find her back in 2016. I Know Who You Are. Is where we learn that Savitar is actually a future version of Barry Allen, a time remnant, if you will. That's what we get there. Cause and effect. They try to stop Barry from creating new memories, so that Savitar won't have access to those memories, which is how he's been able to stay ahead of him.
That was actually pretty unique. I like that. I like that little bit of trying to figure out how to beat this guy. I thought that was very, very intuitive.
Yeah, it was an interesting episode. Go ahead, Ronnie.
I was going to say, was anybody really surprised that Savitar, the last Speedbender, was the Tom Remnant, Barry Allen.
I was.
First of all, I reject the idea of time remnant. So once they revealed that that's who he was,
Clearly.
that it wasn't Barry from another dimension, that it was a time remnant, I went, oh, who fucking cares? I literally stopped caring about Savitar. This was at the very end of I Know Who You Are when they revealed that it's a time remnant and not Barry from another dimension or some other iteration of Barry, a clone. It was a time remnant, and then they had to re-explain to me what a time remnant is. I'm like, this is gay. I don't care.
Who would you have rather it be?
Again, I would have preferred if it had been Barry from like Earth 66.
Oh, okay. So for an alternate Earth Barry.
Yeah. Why couldn't it? Wouldn't it have made more sense and been a bit more logical in this fictional universe that we're debating like a bunch of neckbeards? That if a version of Barry Allen from an alternate dimension had gotten Speed Force powers and this one went fucking nuts, like not only does he lose his parents, but he loses Iris and Joe, and there's no Team Flash, and he just becomes evil, and he just devotes himself to the Speed Force, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. He becomes Savitar. To me, that's a better story. Not, I created a time remnant, which makes no fucking sense to me. That time remnant was rejected by Team, and it's sad now. Barry's time remnant is sad, so he puts on armor and becomes the god of speed. Fuck you.
Okay, now, I personally didn't mind the whole time remnant thing because I could understand his motivations a little bit better as to why he would want to ruin Barry's life, because this guy was just brought from the future and left here. And I think in the episode, he was like, everybody treated me as the outcast, which he really was. I mean, he was somebody, imagine having to deal with, two of your best friends. Oh, it'd be tough to hang out with one and not hang out with the other. And the other one might start to feel a little bit neglected, especially if you've been hanging out with the original for that much longer. So I
You're right.
kind
They
of
murdered him in the street.
Well, I mean, you can't do that. That is not what Team Flash does. But here, so I kind of understand how that motivates him to become Savitar and want to take his revenge out on Barry. And it was
Yay!
Ronnie Adams.
No.
No.
Out of it.
No.
No,
no.
Ron. I'll be good.
It completely threw me out of it when I found out it was a time remnant.
You didn't like it either?
Like, I didn't. I mean, I cared. I knew I was going to get there to, like we said, it was just another who is it? This guy's torturing me thing, and I was like, oh, it's going to be somebody from his past. It's going to be, it could be him from another Earth. It could be a lot of things. It could be his dead dad coming back. I don't know. Yeah. And it was like, no, it's a time remnant. I'm kind of in the same boat as Mark. Oh, it's a sad time remnant that is sad because he was forgotten about, because he doesn't actually really exist in any world other than the Speed Force. Why is he sad? Why does he want to torture Barry? Why does he want to kill Iris? And I was like, well, whatever.
How about HR's new hottie, Tracy Brand? Did you like her becoming part of Team Flash and having the
sure.
Mark?
Oh yeah, I did. I was saying sure.
That was part of the storyline that I liked. Look, just because I don't like the identity of the stated identity of Savitar, doesn't mean I like. Look, I by no means didn't like this season. There were elements of it, like we just discussed, like the stupid Once in Future Flash episode, and the reveal that Savitar's a time remnant. But I can live with those things. This isn't like this isn't like Gotham, where every episode is getting dumber and dumber by the minute, to the point where at the end of it you're just like, you know what? Set the fucking show on fire. It doesn't deserve to live. It isn't that bad.
All right.
So every episode. Gotham and Arrow, every season they destroy the town. I don't understand why anyone lives there. But look, there were great things about like the cause and effect episode. I'm sorry, not the cause and effect episode. The Infantino Street episode, which is the one where I believe is it this one or is oh yeah, this is the one where Captain Cold and Barry go to steal the Dominator technology so that they can use it for the Speed Force bazooka. That was a great episode. Anytime they had the guy that plays Captain Cold, I enjoy it because I love his portrayal. And again, this is another one where they messed around with, is Barry going to do the right thing or is Barry going to give in to his darker impulses?
I like Captain Cold. I like Captain Cold, but I'll tell you right now, the way that he portrays the character and speaks, I think that really drives me up the wall. Like, Barry, when are you going to go back to Team Flash? He always drags it out there at the end. Now, just wait. When you guys listen to him, when he shows up again, of course, he was in Legends. I don't know if I imagine he's probably going to be showing back up on Flash a little bit more, possibly. But over in Legends, he's not been around for at least since the end of last season. I think he showed up there in the second season, like towards the end. But regardless, I do enjoy the guy that plays that character and bringing him in, because that's one of Flash's more famous rogues. But to bring him in and have him help Barry was a neat little twist, especially since at this point, I think he had been dead and now he's back to life. He went back in time and grabbed him, didn't he? Before he died?
Yeah, from
1892.
Yeah.
More time travel. Fun. We don't fucking learn here on the Flash.
No, well, he went back in time to find him. That's fine.
Sure.
Welcome to Jesse Hates Mark.
One
word answers. That's all you give for the rest of the show.
I'm just sitting here eating popcorn. You go at it.
All right, let's wrap this up. We have about 10 minutes left of live time. I don't really want to go over into just recording. So at the end, once they have the thing to make the Speed Force bazooka, they try it out on Savitar. Of course, Savitar is one step ahead of them. He uses the Philosopher's Stone to counteract it and kills Iris. But doesn't. Oh. No, he doesn't. He kills HR instead, who is using technology to make it look like he was Iris and swaps places with her. Savitar kidnaps Cisco and forces him to rebuild the bazooka into an interdimensional quantum splicer so that Savitar could create fragments of himself to be dispersed throughout time and protect himself from the paradox, which fails because he is betrayed by Cisco. Barry tries to convince Savitar that he could be saved, which goes back to what would happen in the previous episode, which is, Snart telling him defeat Savitar with kindness, not with rage. Savitar returns to Star Labs, destroys it with the Philosopher's Stone and orders Caitlin to kill Cisco. But Gypsy interferes. Savitar and Caitlin open a portal into the Speed Force. The Black Flash appears and attacks Savitar, but Caitlin stops him with her powers. Savitar attempts to execute his plan, but Cisco actually modified the bazooka into a skeleton key to free Jay from the Speed Force prison. Barry, Wally, and Jay engage Savitar while Cisco and Gypsy face off against Caitlin. Cisco convinces Caitlin to become benevolent. Barry phases through and destroys Savitar's suit before Savitar is shot by Iris, seconds before he is erased from existence. As Team Flash mourns for HR, Caitlin decides not to use Julian's cure, leaving in order to find her own purpose. A massive storm appears over Central City, created by the empty, unstable Speed Force prison. Barry explains that he needs to accept his punishment for creating Flashpoint, so we begin where we end, and enters the Speed Force prison himself, entrusting Central City to Wally and the team, and that is where we leave Season 3 of The Flash, Flashpoint, with Barry Allen going back into the Speed Force to take his comeuppance for creating nonsense and foolery in this season. I'm going to give my overall impressions of how this ended and the season at large, and we'll do that to kick it around, and then we'll be done here. I think overall, because of the breaks, and because of the stuff that didn't deal directly with Savitar, I thought this was a fairly strong season. There were definitely a lot of fun moments. much like with Arrow, when it dealt with the major, I thought the weakest parts of the season at times were when they were dealing directly with Savitar and killing Iris. Because after a while, I just had enough of it. You know, like, we get it, Barry. You're sad that your wife's going to get a knife in the back. I got it. You know, 10 episodes later, I'm still sad. We get it. Shut up. There was enough other stuff going on that, unlike Arrow, I didn't feel like that was all that was happening in every episode. So I think I would give it an A-. I was definitely, I would say, of all the shows that I watched, it was one of the ones where, especially towards the end, where, you know, like, we do a podcast every Tuesday night at 9, and I would literally watch Flash right up to the point where I had to call into the podcast because I could not wait to watch it, like, the next day or when the podcast was over. I think I tried once. I fell asleep. You know, it was just too late for me. So, like I said, overall...
On the podcast or in the middle of the episode of Flash?
Both.
You had to get that last kidney punch in there, didn't you?
As far as the actual series season finale, you know, I was curious to see if they were brave enough to kill Iris. Instead, they killed the third iteration of HR, and I feel like there's this. They're gonna, you know, they just seem to bring, you know, they just seem to pluck HRs out of the ether. So it's like, so it's like, yeah,
he'll be back.
We'll see what happens here. But other than that, I thought it was, I like the idea of Flash. You have to be the hero. You have to be better than everybody else. You can't keep giving into your base desires. That's what got you. That's what got you into the mess in the first place. There's a line. I'm going to end my rant here by saying, you know, Barry May at one point makes a statement. Everything bad that's happened has happened because I made a decision based in fear, and I can't keep doing that. And I thought that was the strongest part of the season, other than some of like the fun stuff that happened. So those are some of my thoughts. Jesse?
All right. Okay. I hated the fact that HR and Tracy become a thing, and then they take that away from us by killing off HR. That kind of made me mad. I really wanted to see their man. Here I am talking about a superhero show, and I'm all involved in all these love interests. Somebody needs to check my temperature or something. This is not the Jesse Starcher I know, but I am enjoying it.
Watching Riverdale.
Buddy, if it's up to my daughter, I apparently am going to have to, because she's going to spoil one thing every day until I start watching it. She told me. So yeah. But anyway, I enjoyed the way they kind of wrapped it up. Does anybody, just real quick, have? I don't know if there is a reason for the Speed Force prison. Is that? You know, that seems to be something that we got to send Barry to the Speed Force prison. He's got to take somebody's place there because Jay Carrick's out now, and the Speed Force is going to destroy the dude. I want an explanation as to why he has to go be in prison. That may be something I totally missed, but I thought that was that was something I totally didn't understand. I didn't understand why he had to go and do that. The strong point of the time travel throughout the whole series, or throughout this whole season, I was okay with that, and I think it really picked up when they focused on that second half where we've got to try and save Iris. We've got to try and save Iris and keep her from dying. So I enjoyed that much more than the earlier part. I can remember, I think I watched the first 3 episodes, and then there was probably a good month or 2 that passed by before I really picked up the interest to go back and watch the series from where I left off. And I think it was right around when the crossover happened. I was like, okay, now I've got to get caught up so I can watch the crossover. So as for the series as a whole, the season as a whole, I'll rate it a B+. And I think a lot of that has to do with the time travel element. the fact that I probably downgrade it because I got my heart broke a couple times. But the inevitability of Iris getting killed and how are they going to take care of that kept me hooked. So there are my overall thoughts and how of the season as a whole and how it ended. So Ronnie Adams.
I can agree with the B+ rating on that, or grade on that, because the Iris part of the storyline really kept me hooked. Just like you, I didn't really care about finding out who Savitar was because I knew it would eventually come. It was like we've said, it was just a rehash of the Jay Garrick and all that storyline. Sucks that Wells died, but I mean, this is the second time he's died, really. So they'll just get another one from another Earth. We don't have to miss him. Just go grab another one. I mean, we've got plenty of them. So, but the whole I get why Barry has to go into the prison as a whole morality kind of issue. He's the one that actually did the crime, so he should do the time about screwing everything up.
What does he do there? He just. I mean, does he sit and think about? Go sit in the Speed Force and think about what you did?
I guess it's kind of like the Phantom Zone.
That
was really good.
I don't know, man. I don't get it.
Now go sit in the Speed Force, young man. Oh.
Think about what you did.
There.
What did I do?
He gets like, a spanking like every Thursday, and then he has, I don't get it.
He has spanking.
He has other Tom. He has Tom remnants in there.
They got paddles.
Kind of like the Breakfast Club with Tom remnants and Barry Allen. But
the tension.
But I guess it's kind of like the Phantom Zone. What did they do? In the Phantom Zone, they just kind of chill there and they turn around and paint the glass and scream.
I was going to say, you lived in an LP and traveled through space.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah. So
it's the truth.
As opposed to Barry Allen, who's writing on a chalkboard in the Spirit Force, I will not break time. I will not break time.
Right. But I like. Can I say that my favorite parts of the season were the quote unquote kind of throwaway part? Not throwaway, but they didn't have the big long, arcs to it. I did like the crossover, but man, I really like the Gorilla Grodd. I don't care what anybody says. I like the musical. It was the fun stuff that kept me going in this season. So it's like that with any show. I like the fun stuff. I like it when Mark Hamill shows up to play the trickster.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I liked
like
Abracadabra.
So.
I didn't get a chance to talk about that, but I really enjoyed the guy who played Abracadabra.
Yeah. Can I really? I mean, I was really disappointed that they didn't work in Dr. Fate or Zatanna or bring back Constantine for that.
Well,
just because of the name. Yeah.
I mean, look, I think they also have to coordinate with fucking Arrow, who I think has first dibs on everybody in the in the DC universe. So I think you have to give it some time, and they have okay, we want to use this one, and then they have to figure out how they're gonna in a world that is supposed to be at least somewhat real, other than their stupid time travel things. They
Shots fired.
Sitting quietly, waiting for the podcast to end.
I think they have to, get with the other showrunners and make sure they can, that they're not being used in something like Arrow has gone through a lot of characters at this point, and you never know what they're going to use next. So I'm sure there's a way of going about if they express an interest in using Zatanna or somebody, that there's a whole process that has to get set up, and then again they have to write it in such a way that it reflects the universe they're living in. I actually had a proposal of how they could bring in Power Girl, but we can talk about that at another time. I don't want to spend another 20 minutes on here pitching ideas that no one's going to listen to. So so I think we're good here, right, guys? I think we've talked enough about this. I've made my point that you can't run into the future and find yourself. It doesn't work that way.
Good night.
So
I want to call Robert Winfrey right now. Get in my corner. Damn it.
Too late. I'm already in the corner.
All right. Well, while these two sit in the corner and shake, and you'll never be clean, I'll do some plugs here. We had the Flashpoint comics storyline on source material this past Monday. Tomorrow, I will be elsewhere, but there will be a Metal Hammer of Doom. Jesse Starcher and Robert Cooper are going to review Unleash the Archers. The name of the album is Apex, so expect that. I'll be back on Thursday with Sean Comer. We'll be looking at Orange is the New Black Season 5. And next week, Jesse and I are going to talk Poison Ivy, The Cycle of Life and Death. Robert Winfrey and I will be back on Damn You Hollywood. We'll be looking at Cars 3. And then the Metal Hammer of Doom. This is the show I've been waiting for all summer. It's finally here. God bless America. Ladies and gentlemen, Nickelback. Feed the Machine. Right here on the Metal Hammer of Doom.
Sweet Lord. What is wrong with you?
I don't want to give you a penny back.
I love how we have the clip, but we decide to say it anyway.
And then the week after that is Transformers Week. We'll be discussing Revolution, IGWPGF, whatever it's called, Revolution. On Damn You Hollywood, we'll be looking at Transformers The Last Night. Metal Hammer of Doom, we're going to look at Transformers the movie, soundtrack, the cartoon movie. Ronnie will be back on June 29th on Thursday. And we're going to look at Transformers Prime, Season 1.
Yes, we are.
And then we are scheduled to record something. We can talk offline about what that is in case you've all forgotten. But, what fun we're going to have. It's the DC Looney Tunes crossover.
Ah,
oh, boy. Oh, boy.
Ain't we got fun? All right. Speaking of fun, Jesse Starcher, plugs.
You've hit most of them. Just call me Cheesy McCheeserson over here, hanging out on the Source Material podcast. If you guys like to listen to us talk about comics, we got a lot of episodes in the old archives there. Yeah, we're up to 120 episodes. Very proud of that. Glad to have spent most of them hanging out with Mark Radulich and Ronnie Adams, so please go check that out. Go give the Radulich and Broadcasting Network Facebook page a like to stay up on top of all the great podcasts that we have to offer. You can check out a lot of great content on Blog Talk Radio for Radulich and Broadcasting Network. We have all sorts of stuff dealing with video games, which the W2M guys have been dropping content like it's hot. They are doing some stuff with E3 right now. So if you're a video gamer and you like to know about what's going on with the current E3 news, we just had a huge upload, like I think close to 10 episodes dealing with video games and wrestling. Stuart Lang with his Press Start podcast deals with video games as well, so check that out. I'm currently in the process of playing Assassin's Creed Black Flag. No, wait a second. That's not me. That's my 7-year-old son. I'm just watching. I'm the dad that watches my kid play games. So I kind of feel like I need to start getting back into that gaming spirit. And if you guys listen to those episodes, please, any episodes, give us some feedback. We'd love to hear from you. I'm at Stiznarkey on Twitter. Source Material has a YouTube page if you want to check that out. Just type in hashtag Source Material. You may be able to find it. You may not. Hell, I don't know. But also at SourceMattCast on Twitter. And I think that's about it. Just make sure. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, give us some thought to go support our patriarch and check out the snazzy shirt. Go look at the link on the Facebook webpage, Radulich and Broadcasting Network Facebook webpage there. You can see Fight, Rattlich, Fight. That awesome shirt that's right there. Go to represent.com. Click on the link. It'll take you to represent.com/fight, Rattlich, Fight. Maybe throw some bucks, get you some shirt, and then some proceeds go to our patriarch here. Help a brother out while he's down on his luck. Fight that bastard cancer. All right.
Boy, am I
Ronnie
ever down
Adams.
on my luck.
Ronnie Adams, my man. You plug away.
I have a show called Screaming Boy Podcast with Adam Runyon and one Jesse Starcher, where we talk anything. It's nerd culture, pop culture, the nerd life, where we talk about comic books, movies, TV shows, video games, music, whatever you can be a nerd about. We talk about it. Just this past Friday, thank you once again, Mark, for letting us have some live time while I am Sans computer. Sans is not a person, Jason Teasley.
We were Sans Ronnie Adams last night on the Source Material podcast.
Yes, I was not able to make it, but so we've got. We talked about DC Cinematic Universe, a little bit about Wonder Woman, and then we talked about why all the others sucked. And, I don't want to compare them to Marvel movies, but you can't help but compare them to Marvel movies. And then we talked a little about Injustice 2, just a little bit. And then coming up, we've got some good stuff. I know Transformers Week. We're going to talk all things Transformers, the old toys versus the new toys, which ones are better, what Transformers video games have been out, things like that. So that's going to be coming up in the loop. So we've got some stuff coming up for you. I will have a computer very soon, so we'll be back on, like iTunes and all that crap. But right now you can catch us on Blog Talk Radio, iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, on the Radiation Broadcasting Network, which is awesome. Facebook,
all right.
Twitter is at ScreamingBoyPR, and then Instagram, and that's it.
Okie dokie. All right, guys. I appreciate you putting up with me tonight in my surly mood. I appreciate you talking Flashpoint with me. This was fun. We'll have to do it again soon. Thank you, everyone. If you've made it this long, God bless you. And look for another TV party tonight very soon. We've certainly got a lot of them in the can waiting for you to hear. Got a lot more content as the year unfolds. So stay with us. Enjoy our conversations. In the meantime, for Jesse Starcher, for Ronnie Adams, he speaks to the trees and is connected to the green. Be well.
I swap things. I live in the Speed Force.
Be well, be safe, and behave. And remember, if you travel into the future, you won't find your fucking self.
Once upon a time, there was a new crossover that refused to play by the rules. It flipped the script and made all the others look like fools. Featuring styling that's sexier by far and handles like a rock star. Introducing the first ever Toyota CHR.
Enjoy agile handling in the body of a seductive crossover that comes with standard 18-inch alloy wheels. The first ever Toyota CHR. The perfect ride to spin your own tail. Toyota. Let's go places.
Progressive brings you Flowetry with Flo.
When Flo flows, she flows in the know. Mind ruminates the rates. Shown them all, I heed the call. Seeing the rest, I choose the best. Sometimes it's ours, sometimes it's not. When the fox walks, is it called a fox trot? That's a real question.
Compare Progressive direct rates with competitors' rates. Visit Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.